Oh, internet is preparing.
Okay.
It looks to be like we're good. Ready to go. Preparing.
The alert went up. Okay, good morning, everyone. Would like to call this.
Good morning.
Looks to be like we're good. Ready to go. Preparing.
The alert went up. Okay, good morning, everyone. Would like to call this.
Good morning.
Looks to be
There's
like
a delay.
ready to go. Yeah, there
The alert went up. Okay, good morning, everyone. Would like to call this.
Good morning.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, there.
The alert went up. Okay, good morning, everyone. Would like to call this.
Sorry, I'm trying to fix it. I don't know what's going on.
In the Twilight Zone episode.
It's nothing worse than having to hear your own voice that many times in a row.
Oh my God, I
Oh my
know.
God, it's terrible.
And it's so foreign every time you hear it because you rarely hear your
You're like,
own
is that
own
what I sound
voice.
like?
Is it better now?
I cannot stand hearing my own voice.
The
It's so
worst.
annoying.
Either hate it.
Is it better now? I think.
Are we still live streaming?
Yes, we are, but I just turned the volume all the way down. So we're
Okay.
ready to rock and roll.
And it sounds good. Okay. Good morning again, everyone. Would like to call the November Perry Street Prep Board meeting to order. Did the slides advance? They didn't. Oh, there it goes. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's going to be a time. Bear with us today. um, First vote, I'd like to accept a motion to approve minutes from the previous meeting.
I move we accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
Do I have a second?
I second.
I'm sorry, who was the second, just so I can grab that for the notes?
Brandon.
Brandon.
Thank you, Brandon.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
I see all hands. Sean and Andrew, since we don't have camera, can you put it in the chat just so we have a record? Or come off mute. I don't know if you're able.
I'm here.
Thanks.
Sorry, I'm driving.
No problem. Be safe. Okay, well, let's move into our leadership update. Rachel, you have the floor.
Hey, everybody. Okay, so sorry, I can see you all in the screen. What happened?
Well, I'm here. Sorry about that.
My screen just
Thank
went
you,
away. There we
Andrew.
are. Okay. So we have been busy at PSP. We just finished a spirit week for the week of Halloween, which was super fun. Everyone gets into spirit week here. We all get dressed up for Halloween. So the kids have really been having like a good time since school has started. We have several events that have happened so far. We've had PTO meetings, our fall festival, of course, I was telling you about. We are having a fall food drive. Uh, Fall semester one clubs have started, and then the Q1 honor roll breakfast was yesterday. So there are a lot of things going on in the fall. We only have about 4 days left before we go home for Thanksgiving break for a week, but those are just the happenings that have been going on since we've been in school. All right, last board meeting, we were talking about the lab block and our small group instruction and what it looks like for students to receive leveled instruction at Perry Street. So on this slide, I wanted to break down for you exactly what it looks like for this is a typical eighth grade student's schedule. So on the left hand side is a daily block overview. The doors of the building open at 8 a.m. From 8 to 8:30, it looks a little different in every class, depending on the teacher and the grade band, but it's for breakfast, morning meeting, getting situated, all of that good stuff. At 8:30, class starts for every single person in this building, and we run an hour block schedule. So as you can see, every child has a grade level math class, and every child has a leveled math class catered to them and their learning needs specifically. Every child has an ELA grade level class, and every child has a ELA lab block. Of course, they also have enrichment every day and science and social studies. But I wanted to focus on the lab so you all could see that 120 minutes of ELA and 120 minutes of math is given to every student every day. Why the labs are important? Because they're the smallest groups in our building. So during like the lab time, you'll see literally no more than 5 kids in each classroom because everyone's in their small level lab group. Um, right now, for labs, the leadership team, we have been doing learning walks pretty much to go in, look at the labs, see if they are successful, see if what we want to see in labs is actually coming out during the day. We did a learning walk last week and we determined, well, not, I'm sorry, that was 2 weeks ago. And we determined that while teachers were productive in labs, we would like to unify, well, formalize what everyone is doing in their lab. So for example, and I'm talking, I see the screen, but I can't see any people. So if you're like putting your hand up or nodding or something, I can't see it. Yeah, I'm gonna stop in 2 seconds to say any questions. Um, oh, so for example, kids are in I forgot my train of thought. I was talking about labs and
You were talking
grade
about the
level.
walkthroughs. You were talking about the walkthroughs we did of the
Oh,
learning
right, right.
labs.
Yes. So the initial walkthrough, we did it in pre-K. Now, it's important to note that this is a pre-K walkthrough because we took what we learned in pre-K and applied it to the whole school, specifically the intermediate grades. So 10 Square, myself, and our pre-K AP, we went inside of pre-K and we determined that based off of every station in pre-K, we should see a set of rules, questions, sims, basically what is going on in this station. And Rachel Crouch, as a high school and middle school math teacher, should be able to walk into any pre-K class into this building, sit at a station, and be able to deliver instruction to the pre-K students based off of what I see around the room, based off of what I see at the station. So I should walk up, I should see question sims, I should see exactly what I should be asking kids at each station. Why? Because our pre-K program is rated by the class rubric. When class comes in to look at teachers and rate teachers, they are going by what they hear teachers saying at every station, the relationships they hear teachers having with students. And a lot of that has to do with what questions teachers are asking kids, how they're engaging kids, literally about dinosaurs and the dinosaurs on the floor, right? So what we want to do is provide those questions for every adult in this building at those stations. So if I'm at the dinosaur station, I know there are 5 questions I should be asking students. I should be engaging them in this conversation so that because this is the standard for class, this is actually what class is looking for. And are we catering our instruction, how we do it based off of the class rubric? Yes. Are we kind of like teaching to the test in a way? But this is good teaching to the test because what class is requiring of teachers is actually good. We actually want teachers to be asking thoughtful questions inside of those centers. We want kids to play all day in pre-K, but we also want them to learn too. So this is a way to get kids in those. I keep saying the dinosaur center. That's the last one I saw. In the dinosaur center, they're playing with dinosaurs, but the teachers are also asking very thoughtful questions to the students in those groups. Questions that will be provided for them at every station. So there is no guesswork in what they should be doing in pre-K. Fast forward 1 week, we went to the intermediate grades and did a learning walk. We also came to the conclusion that when we walk into the intermediate lab, we should be able to see the same thing in every class. And when I say the same thing in every class, I mean the lab is an hour block. Moving forward, when you walk into a lab at Perry Street Prep, for 30 minutes, the first 30 minutes, the teacher will have a small group, not one child, not 2 children. We want the small group to at least be 3 kids. She will do 2 rotations, or he will do 2 rotations in 30-minute groups. Students will be on the computer on a research-based intervention computer program. Right now, we are looking to pilot iReady. It is a program on the computer where they give students a baseline diagnostic assessment. Then from there, they build out all these mini lessons for students to do on their own. But the good part about iReady is it also builds out the 30-minute mini lessons that teachers should be doing in their small group while they're doing their rotations in class. We want to take the guesswork out of everything. When you walk into a Perry Street lab, you will see X, Y, and Z. At the 10-minute mark, you should see this. At the 20-minute mark, you should see this. We are trying to turn this pretty much into a science. We're just trying to normalize how we do it in every single classroom, because what we're finding is the classrooms that are doing their labs in this way are getting great results. We want to make sure that every teacher is successful in their lab. So when we put up our data for the data walk mid-year, everyone has success to show. We're going to do this by making sure we standardize how everyone is teaching in lab so that kids can get exactly what they need. Teachers can spend all of their time that hour on task working with small groups, and we're going to move forward from there. Now, granted, this is actually going to start right when we get back from break. So we're already doing labs every day. Formalizing how we do labs, we're going to pilot it in third grade. We're going to have every third grader do iReady for ELA and math, excuse me, and the teachers are on board too. Our third grade math teacher actually used to work for a curriculum program. So he's super excited to lead the charge, which we are also super excited about. So I know I just talked a lot about labs. I'm so sorry that was long, but do you all have any questions about the direction we're moving towards as it relates to our lab block and what it's going to look like a parachute across the building? And I can't see people, so let me see if I don't want to stop my share.
I can see people, Rachel. I don't, it
Okay.
doesn't look like there's any hands or anything, but
Okay.
also we're all grown-ups. Feel free to come off mute if you have thoughts or questions. I don't have a question, but it's impressive to fit this much directed learning into a day and still meet established like policy standards is really creative. I appreciate it. I'm sure the families do too.
Thank you. And it was super intentional some years ago when we did it, and it's worked out for us so well. We want to just keep improving it and making sure that it gets better and better. And we really, really need to take all the guesswork out of instruction here and make sure the teachers are equipped with the right lessons and the right curriculum that they're using every single day so that we can see the results that we're looking for.
What does teacher preparation, empowerment, training, whatever the right word is, look like for a model like this?
That is such a great question. So for iReady, when we pilot in third grade, an iReady coach is actually going to come train them on the new lab model. So they're going to come and show them what the 30-minute, the two 30-minute blocks looks like inside their class. That we're going to get schooled on everything iReady. So the My Pathways, those are like the individual lessons and assessments kids take. We have to get trained on all of that. And it's a day training. So once the third grade teachers are trained and we get it off the ground, we're going to start on the leadership end, start tracking the data weekly to see if kids are growing, what kids are doing. And then if it is successful by the end of the school year, we plan to roll it out in fourth and fifth grade as well. So they will be trained by iReady, and then they'll constantly be getting coached by their 10 square coaches. And also we'll be in classrooms on learning walks, giving feedback on basically what we see, what we're looking for, and making sure that what we're looking for is what we see.
Got it. Thank you. Anyone else have questions?
Okay.
or feedback?
Anyone else have any questions?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
So I'll tag team this one with Rachel and Portia. This is also coming off the last board meeting. We had a lot of discussions about enrollment, and so we thought it would be helpful just to kind of overview some of the enrollment pieces. And so first, I think we are looking this year at a total enrollment of 400 students. As you look historically, enrollment up until school year 23-24 pretty much was stable every single year. And then we saw a dip in 24-25, and then a larger dip this year in 25-26. As we look at preschool pre-K enrollment, which is that second row, we see some of that decline in enrollment is in the earliest grades. And the middle school, when you look at 6 to 8 enrollment, is actually an area that's been pretty steady. When we look at individual student subgroups, we do see some shifts. First, when you look at special education, you see a real growth over time of special education students. And so this year we are looking at about 21% of students, so about 1 in 5 qualifying for as a student with disabilities. That will be the largest proportion of students with disabilities that the school has had in recent history. When we look at our English language learners, we see the opposite. We see that population actually decreasing, and that is a decrease. The decrease this year is about 3 percentage points. It is a much larger decrease than the school has historically had. It is likely the impacts of what is happening locally and federally is really driving that decrease. And then an area we've talked a lot before, one thing the school has really seen is a big shift kind of pre-pandemic when we talk about at-risk students. And at-risk students are students who qualify for SNAP, TANF, or students who are in the foster care system. And when you look at this table and when you really think pre-pandemic, the school's at-risk rates really hovered about 50%. That was slightly higher than the DC average, but not much. It was pretty much in line with the DC average. What we have seen since the pandemic, increasingly year over year, is a real increase in the student population at Perry Street. And in about 2 slides, we're going to actually, one of the things we pulled is how the populations in the adjacent schools within very close proximity to Perry Street, what their populations look like for context. And so the population as a whole this year does look slightly different than last year, with a dip in ELL students and a slight increase in special ed. But the thing that continues to be true is that families who have some of the largest economic needs are being attracted to Perry Street. And you can see on the side the averages for DC for school year 24-25. We don't yet have available data for school year 25-26. But for context, when you think about student populations, you can see that Perry Street is serving a student population that is more likely to have students with disabilities, less likely to be students with English language learner needs, and significantly more students who are receiving those support benefits like SNAP and TANF. If we go to the next slide.
Oh, that's
One other thing to note, sometimes we get questions a lot about student enrollment and where are students at Perry Street coming. So for this school year, you can see what student enrollment looks like by ward. This is pretty consistent at Perry Street. So historically at Perry Street, about half the students are coming from Ward 5. And then there's a real smattering amongst the other wards. We too tend to see about 20%, 19% this year of students from Ward 7. And that has a lot to do with just the proximity of Ward 7 as you think about coming up South Dakota Avenue. One thing to note is when we think about pre-K enrollment, one thing we've seen as a real shift is the district opening up what's called the Peak 4 program, where students who are attending private preschools. So if you've driven around DC, CommuniKids is one, these community-based organizations, where now the district is funding the per pupil formula for students to be enrolled in the private preschools. So as a parent, if you want to enroll your child in that private program, you are no longer paying tuition because the district is paying for students to enroll in those private preschool programs. And then the last slide before I stop for questions, one more slide, please. This is just for context. So if you are familiar with the Perry Street neighborhood, we have 2 schools on both sides of Perry Street. So if you're facing the front door, there's one DCPS school that you can see in front of us, and there's really one DCPS school right behind the school. And those are Burroughs and Bunker Hill. And so what we pulled as just a discussion point is the demographics of those schools. These are demographics, again, for school year 24-25, because this year's data is still being validated. Burroughs and Bunker Hill are both pre-K to 5 schools. What Burroughs is 4/10 of a mile. So, you could throw a rock, if you will, and hit Burroughs. That is how close it is to Perry Street. It enrolls 346 students. When you look at the enrollment by subgroup, generally what we see the biggest difference is those at-risk or economically disadvantaged students. So at Burroughs, about 40% of the students qualify for at-risk or economically disadvantaged. At Perry Street, that number is 70%. When we look at enrollment by race and ethnicity, you also see some differences where Burroughs is serving about 60% of Black or African American families and about 24% or 25% white families. Perry Street serves a predominantly Black and African American community. Bunker Hill, which is behind the school, serves 223 students in pre-K to 5. And similarly here, when we look at that economically disadvantaged number, we do see a pretty stark difference between who Bunker Hill is serving as compared to Perry Street. Similarly, we see a slightly different percentage of students by race, more akin to Burroughs than Perry Street. And so I think what is interesting from a discussion point and just a recognition is Perry Street has these two DC public schools with an incredibly close proximity, but the families who are attracted to and seeking out Perry Street do have some differences between the families who are seeking the neighborhood DCPS schools. So let me stop there, but we wanted to highlight this off the last discussion at the board meeting in terms of enrollment and really just taking a little deeper look at what does Perry Street's enrollment look like and bringing in this context of the neighborhood.
I actually want to add, I want to go back to this slide, broken down by subgroups. And as it relates to like CAPE testing, right? We get counted for subgroups. We get double counted for some subgroups. And it's so funny because like one of the subgroups is, I think, Alexander's a Black boy, something that we have a lot of. We were like, oh, perfect. They're all over the place. But the labs are important because we are getting counted by subgroups. We get double counted for some subgroups. We have a month ago, we sat down with 10 Square and we looked at every student who needed to grow a certain amount this school year in order for us to hit a certain target for next school year, right? This is why the labs are important, and because since we presented the list and said, here's the students who have to grow by X, Y, and Z in order to become level 1 on Aspire. I'm just giving you a scenario. We were able to take those students, put them in specific labs that will meet their needs by the end of the school year. We're only able to do that because the labs are so small and they're so specific to the students' needs. They will be in those labs for 2 hours a day until the end of the school year. And we hope to see significant growth and improvement from the students who we have pretty much the list of that tells us which students we need to really grow to move the needle. So yes, everything is broken down by subgroups here, but it is important to us, the subgroups and what that means inside of Perry Street, because some of the subgroups and some of the groups or some of the kids are actually counted twice in some areas for Kate. So I just want to throw that out there to say the subgroups matter, and we're trying to be super intentional about our groupings, about the kids that are in the group down to a science, so we can know exactly like who needs what and what we need to do to move forward and move the needle on Aspire.
So if these subgroups are being double counted, does that mean we're getting double dinged for the bad? And will we get
I
double
would say,
bonus
Brandon,
if they
I would phrase it as because Perry Street has done an
sorry.
amazing job of growing special ed students, it's actually double benefit. So
Okay.
on Aspire, some of our students are counted actually 4 times because every single student is counted for their economic status, whether they're economically disadvantaged or not. Every single student is counted for their race or ethnicity. So every student has an economic qualification and a race and ethnicity. So every student is double counted. Some students, like a student with disabilities, is then also triple counted. And some students who are SPED, ELL, at risk, and have a race are quadruple counted. And so one of the reasons why we emphasize so much with Rachel and the team growth is the student population at Perry Street doesn't look like the average DC school. And not like the schools next door. And 1 out of 5 kids is a student with disabilities. So we have to put a lot of energy on making sure we're moving all students, because that is what is going to be the critical factor for students to continue being successful and for accountability. Some students come in with really, really low skills, and like we're not going to change that overnight, but we've got to push growth and maximizing and having them growing faster than the expected rate, because that's how we'll start getting them on track.
Gotcha. Thank you, Alexandra.
Thank you, Alexandra, for making that more plain.
I have one question. I know we've talked about some of the aids. How are we looking with the like we had to make some cuts to aids? I know there are some grade bands that may not have interventionists. Are we like removing, the students that have the lowest? I understand we're going to the new model, but as far as staffing is concerned, do we have enough staff in order for us to hone in on those students?
Yeah, so are you talking about labs?
Well, not even like I
I
know that,
think
for instance, like the interventionists and things like that. I know that like they're used to be in, third grade, for instance. If you needed reading help and you were, there were
she's on
benchmarks to move you, they would take them in small groups, things like that. Is that something that we're still doing? As you're mentioning these bands and kind of where we need to move the needle. I wanted to know, do we have enough staff in place in order to achieve those goals?
Yes. So what we did at a typical school, when you walk into a classroom, you'll see a general education teacher at the front, and then you'll see a special education teacher like in the back somewhere dilly-dallying around. What we did was we pulled every adult out of the classroom. So there is no more co-teaching model where one adult is teaching and one adult is assisting. Everyone has their own small group. So in a typical school, while the SPED teacher would have pushed in to assist with the teacher, now that teacher comes to the classroom, pulls their 5 kids, and leaves to go deliver level learning instruction. So we have enough adults because we split all of the adults in the building and assigned them no more than 5 kids that they are responsible for until the end of the school year. They're responsible for their growth, they're responsible for their data. And so the reason we have enough people is because we split everybody up. So yes, we do have enough people for labs. We are always interviewing and looking for interventionists and aides and people to fill in just in case we need to hire new people. But as it stands right now, we do have enough bodies in place to run all of the labs.
And Aisha, I think the person you're specifically referring to is on FMLA currently, because she had a baby this fall. All right, Rachel, do you want to just talk about our quick Q1 data?
Sure. So well, Portia, do you want to talk about attendance first, or do you want me to talk about attendance first?
I'll talk about attendance first. How about that?
Okay.
So as you can see, our in-seat attendance is slightly above the charter sector, which is great because like last year, as you remember, we were kind of struggling with getting our babies here. So it is absolutely exciting to see this data increasing in the positive in the positive way. So right now, as you know, we have the 400 students. So right now, 90%, which is great. I mean, it's only like a little tiny bit above the charter sector, but it's still like exciting to know that we're actually getting our babies here every single day. Our team is making a lot of changes and strides towards ensuring that attendance is going in the positive direction. Ms. Montez has been actually just like we've been calling families, sending them emails. If there are issues with like transportation or if there are issues at home or anything that like is stopping these babies from coming here, we're actually working with them to identify what those challenges are so that we're able to get them here, right? Like it's actually exciting to see. Another thing that's exciting to see is to date, we have no instances of exclusionary discipline. So we have no instances of students being suspended or not out of school for any other reason. Right now it's immunization season, so we are working diligently to make sure that all of our students who are listed or identified as needing to have updated records, we're making sure that we're getting all of that information in the system and running it, like running the data to make sure on the day of exclusion, which is December, early December, I believe it's either the 5th or the 9th. But early December is when we have to start excluding kids from school, and that's not something that we want to do. So we're working on that right now. Um, Expulsion rate, we don't even have to talk about that because we don't have any, and we don't plan to have any, hopefully. As you see, the mid-year withdrawal rate, that number is like climbing a little bit, but it's not at it's still lower than prior years, but we're trying to keep that number to 0 one day because we want to make sure that our students are not leaving us and they're following from pre-K all the way up until 8th grade. But again, you know, circumstances change, especially in our climate. So those numbers we're trying to keep them low, but sometimes we just can't control that. Okay, yeah. You want to add
And then
anything?
I want to actually add on to that, Portia, to talk about the suspension rate. Uh, and historically, Perry Street, we stopped suspending kids, I want to say like 7 years ago. But I do want to highlight that I want to give my teachers all of the applause and all of the flowers because we have had a pretty difficult school year, not typical than our usual school year. We have some new middle schoolers who have been giving us a run for our money. So, in spite of that, we still have 0 suspensions, but it's only because our teachers are so talented and so skilled at what they do. They're able to manage behaviors, and the leadership team also steps in to assist teachers when they're having issues in their classroom. The good thing about Perry Street is we don't have teachers with severe classroom management issues. So when we do have classroom management issues, we're able to look at it for what it is and try to figure out exactly what's going on, if the student needs to be removed, if a parent needs to be called, or whatever have you. But this is just a shout out to the teachers. We have had 0 suspensions, and it is because of the hard work of the teachers and assistant principals keeping the culture up, trying to keep the culture positive. So I just want to put that note in as well.
Any questions?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Did anyone have any questions for Portia? Okay. So fall map. So all the students were able to take the map test for the fall. We are using this data to inform a lot. Like I said, we recreated our labs. We literally changed not everyone's schedule, but a lot of kids' schedule and a lot of teachers' schedules based off of the fall map data. Now, some teachers we're not happy with the changes because some classes went from 3 students in a class to maybe 6 students in a class. And if you have the luxury of having 3 students in your lab, when you get 6, of course, you're going to push back a little bit, but everyone's fine now. But so based off of the map data, we created new lab groups. Everyone's in a new lab group. So in ELA, 23% of elementary and 46% of the middle grade students met the national norm for achievement at the 50th percentile or greater. So in math, 39% of elementary and then 32% of the middle school students meeting the national norm for achievement. What this means is we have a lot of work to do. Now, Alexandra spoke earlier about growth, and Perry Street spends a lot of time focusing on growth because it's easier for me to hold teachers accountable for growing kids 2 years on or 1.5 years on a math test than telling a teacher they have to grow 30 students who came to them 4 grade levels behind that they all had to have 4s on park by the end of the school year. Our goals are super bite-sized and super attainable so that all teachers can feel successful at the end of the school year. Um, so MAP is pretty much a predictor of CAPE. We are here to make sure that the students do well on CAPE and that the students show growth on CAPE. We're using MAP to inform that. So like I said, we still have a lot of work to do. Uh, The goal right now is not for every student to be at a 4 or proficient on CAPE by the end of the school year. The goal is that every student grow and exceed their MAP growth goal by the end of the school year. So if every student by the end of the school year grew 1.5 years in math and ELA, regardless of where they came from, we will be happy and satisfied with that. So charter goals, I keep touching on the different parts of the leadership update, but all of it goes right back to Aspire, the charter goals, and pretty much why we're here. So early predictions say we will meet our charter goals and reach at least a level 3 based on the fall map. So that is a good thing that we are in a good place right now. Before Aspire is going to be rated this school year. We're going to get a grade. Last year, we did not get a grade, but if we got a grade, we would have, I received it was a 56.3, right? A level 2 Alexandra on Aspire.
So last year it will be a 64. This year, right now, based on early fall data, we're looking at a 53. And that is really based on fall math. We know that's going to change because students are going to improve over the year. But this is just an early snapshot of where the school is. The charter goal is to be at a level 3 or above. And so right now we have confidence that the school will meet that baseline. The reason why this is actually really important, and Portia, if we could go to 2 more slides just to contextualize this. So the big ask here for the board is, actually, let's go back 1 more slide, Portia, I'm sorry. As a reminder, the school is coming up for its 30-year renewal in 28-29. I know that seems very far away, but charter schools across the district are all renewed or reviewed every 5 years. So at the 5 and 10-year marks, they are charter reviews. At the 15, 30, 45-year mark, they are renewals, meaning an actual contract that the board has with the authorizer is rewritten, signed again, and you are offered a contract to operate for 15 years. The next review for Perry Street is what's called that high stakes renewal. So an issuance of a new contract in 28-29. The renewal and those 5 and 10-year reviews are all based on your charter goals and your ability to meet financial and legal metrics and requirements. The charter goals are the school's academic performance. Up until now, the school has used what was called the PMF, or the Performance Management Framework, to evaluate charter goals. The PMF no longer exists. It has sunsetted, has stopped being used, and has been replaced by Aspire. Portia, if we go to the next slide. What that actually means, if you look at the very bottom on the red, is that the board of Perry Street has to formally adopt Aspire as its charter goals. Because right now, the contract that Perry Street has with the charter board says that the school will be evaluated under the PMF. We know the PMF doesn't exist. And so what we have to do as a board is actually officially adopt with a resolution the Aspire framework to be used for charter goals. PCSB has set a deadline of April 1 for all schools to adopt Aspire that wish to adopt Aspire. The alternative is for schools to negotiate individual goals with PCSB. We don't recommend individual goals because the school is meeting the thresholds on Aspire, and Aspire really does capture everything Perry Street is doing. Schools that have looked at individual goals are schools that have pretty unique programs that don't do a lot of the things you see on here, which is the state test, the class observations. So predominantly are alternative schools who are serving very different populations of students. And so we've drafted a resolution that you can click on here to view. It's a very simple resolution. Portia, if you can open up that resolution.
Can you all see my screen? Or do I have to share the screen?
I think you may have to share the screen.
Hold on. Let me pull
I'm sorry, I've been saying Portia, but it's you, Rachel, who's controlling this.
Yeah.
That resolution really, Perry Street was founded in 1999. It's the school's mission. The trustees hold the responsibility of clear expectations for students. The school completed a review of student performance, including standardized assessments, CAPE, MAP, chronic absenteeism, re-enrollment. And really the whereas is that the leadership team has recommended updated academic charter goals aligned to the PCSB accountability framework, Aspire, and that the board would therefore, scroll down just a little bit, Rachel. The board would officially adopt the use of Aspire for its charter goals. We do not need to vote on this resolution today. We can vote on it at the next board meeting, but wanted to put this in front of folks to look at because the real big ask that the PCSB has put out is that all schools would need to adopt Aspire if they so choose. They would need to adopt it via a resolution, and then we would submit that via a charter amendment to the PCSB. So let me pause there and open it up for questions or discussions. Is there any hesitation or anybody concerned about changing to these new charter goals officially?
I want to hear from, not to put you on the spot, Rachel, but as someone who watches the data so closely and is monitoring achievement over time, what are your thoughts about our ability to meet and exceed these goals consistently?
Oh, that's such a good question. So we can actually go through real quick. So for school progress, right? We are so MGP and GTP, those are pretty much your growth points. Perry Street does an excellent job in getting growth points historically for students with disabilities and students without disabilities. What Perry Street is working on right now is our re-enrollment, our attendance. Ever since COVID, we have been climbing back up to get our re-enrollment and our attendance to where we want it to be. Those are the two things right now, based off of Aspire, that we are kind of focusing on this year. We are adopting, so Aspire is also going to take our class data. We do exceptionally well on class for emotional support and classroom organization. So Aspire is adopting those two metrics, which we know for sure will get all those points. So we've gone through this Excel document literally line by line to figure out where we are as it relates to each metric. Now, for school achievement, I know we keep talking about growth, and school achievement is an area that we're working on as well. But we firmly believe that in order to get the fours, in order to get to proficiency, one, we have to grow the hell out of kids and grow them and grow them and grow them until we can't anymore, and also introduce them to grade level content. So we're doing that as well. I feel pretty confident that based off the meeting we had last month about where we are on this fire report card, where we were last year when we weren't being rated, where we are now, and what we have to do to get to level one moving forward. I feel like we created a solid plan. So I'm comfortable adopting all of these because this is literally the Excel document we've been using kind of since I've been at Perry Street, and how we inform our work and what we do and what we're looking at and what's important to us. So I am 100% in.
Thank you. My last question, that doesn't mean I'm the only person that may have them, is are there any anticipated impacts or shifts to school culture as a result of these standards? I mean, I know we always have high standards for our kids, but I do know sometimes when, we are focused on achieving or exceeding new goals, we are focused on the achievement. So any considered impacts to school culture around learning as we adopt these new they're not more stringent, I understand that, set of goals.
I would honestly think the school culture can only get stronger because in order for us to achieve this, butts have to be in seats, that's attendance. We have to have classroom management under control. So like the school environment has to be like top notch. I foresee the school culture only getting better as we get better academic outcomes because we need that in place first before we can even start teaching, if that makes sense. right now, and we have a lot of people on the ground who are responsible for like the joy and the happiness in school culture. And of course, as me, the leader and the leadership team, we're responsible for like the pulse of like behavior and consequences and things like that. But as it relates to like parents coming in the building, events and school culture, things like that, we don't see anything changing. Um, we actually only see it getting better.
Thank you. Helpful. Alexandra, is this a vote to adopt?
If the board is ready, we could vote today. If the board is not ready, we could vote next board meeting. Really up to you all in terms of whether you all are ready to adopt or not today.
The board feel ready?
Yeah, I have no concerns.
I have no concerns. I'd be ready to vote.
I can vote.
Okay, let's do it. Accepting a motion to adopt Aspire as its official charter goals for Perry Street Prep.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sydney, can we just do a roll call for this one because it is something that is.
Yeah.
So
Can
if you
people
don't mind,
put their votes in the chat?
they could do it in the chat or we can go one by one, whatever you prefer.
Okay.
And so while you all are voting, I do want to say that these goals, like all these different line items, are great starting points for every single conversation we have. Because if we're doing all of these things well, students are growing, everyone's learning, we're doing our job, we're closing the achievement gap. So I know it's like controversial to want to be rated against like a report card or a rubric, but it is important for us because this is what we use to inform like how we do things at Perry Street based off of these goals and this report card and these different metrics.
Can I ask a question? This is probably stupid here. What is the abbreviation SSPM on the, is that the without,
The school,
So
Rachel.
sorry.
no,
Go ahead,
Alexandra,
Rachel.
please. No, Alexandra, please.
It is the school specific performance measures. And so part of this framework allows each school to identify 2 goals, which are unique to that school. And those goals are worth 10 points. And so each school negotiated last year what goals they wanted to adopt to use for these 10 points. So these goals are different from school to school. For Perry Street, and Rachel, if we go back let's go back one slide or 2 slides, actually. One more, yeah. So for Perry Street, if you look at the very bottom of this table, Perry Street adopted class as its 2 specific goals that it would use. If you look at this table in that green school environment column, Perry Street chose classroom organization and emotional support. In the Aspire part above that, so without those bonus points, each one of those is worth 4 points. What you see is in 23-24, in 24-25, Perry Street got all 4 out of 4 points in those areas. And so that is why Perry Street chose to use those for its bonus points for school specific measures. Those are 2 areas the school has done relatively well in.
So that's something we can count to do well at. So that's why we know it's a safe space for us to get some extra points. That makes sense.
Correct. So that is the approach. And it's an area that like is pre-K students. And if we're doing really well in pre-K classrooms, then kids are having a really good learning environment. So that is what that is.
And that's something you want to tout too. So that's really impressive and obviously huge.
Yep. So just for the minutes, the motion passes. There are 6 yeas. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the minutes that the motion passed.
Thank you.
To adopt the Aspire framework. And we will then work with Sydney to get your signatures on the resolution. And we'll also submit the charter application. And I think, Sydney, you may need to sign that. So we will work with you to get that going.
Do you want to talk about accreditation?
Yes. Okay. So as we mentioned before in our last meeting, we are under the accreditation process. We are in the final phase, which is super exciting and also nerve-wracking, but we have completed every single phase. So we've submitted our self-study, we've met as a team, we've met as a leadership team. Janalee has been very, very, very instrumental in this process, as well as Aisha. So shout out to you, Aisha, for just coming and joining us and providing your ideas and just being there for us. So right now we're in hosting the visit. So we will be hosting the visit in December, which seems like it's not far, but it is very far for me, hopefully, because that's what I'm trying to perceive it as. So they will be here December 1st through the 4th. We are right now creating the agenda for them so that we're able to kind of make sure they see the classrooms, tour the school, understand what happens, all of the great happenings that we just discussed, making sure that they're able to see all of that real time, because it is really, really exceptional things happening here. So that is what the visit is going to consist of. Aisha has also offered up her space, her hotel for us to be able to, host the visiting members, which is also just like a really nice personal touch as well. So that's where we are in that process. If you can go to the next slide, I believe. I'm not sure if.
Sorry.
Okay, so what we're going to do, as I mentioned, we are preparing our community right now for the visit, which is in a couple of weeks. So we're making sure that the building is in pristine condition, which that can be very, very hard. We're making sure that the students are understanding what that means for us. We're making sure that the staff understand. I mean, there's not much they have to do any differently because they do what they're supposed to do on the daily basis, but just making sure they know how important this is for our school. Another thing that's going to be happening in December is we are going to hold a breakfast, and we would love it for the board member, for you guys to join this breakfast. So go ahead. Did somebody say something? No? Okay. As of right now, we're holding Wednesday, December 3rd. The number got deleted, but so we're asking for at least 3 board members to attend, but the more the merrier. So please let me know if you are able to attend this breakfast. It's not going to be long, probably no more than an hour, but it would be a great opportunity for you to actually provide your experience and your ideas towards the visiting team. So if anybody wants to speak up right now, that would be lovely so I can get you on the calendar.
I'm sorry, I missed the date.
Oh, it's December 3rd. I'm sorry, it's not in. I'll put it in the slides so we can reference it, but it is December 3rd. Sorry.
I can
And
make,
Portia, can we get this ask out to the full board via email?
Of course. Yep.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. So I did hear somebody say that they were coming. So I'll just
No
email
standard.
anyways, just so you have it, and then I'll be able to make sure we get you on the calendar. So those who are going to join, so hopefully all of the board is going to join, but just the questions that will be asked is, how were you involved in this process? What role did you play in the oversight? What role do you actually play in the oversight of Perry Street Prep? How do you work with Crouch, the principal and I? So it's just, those are general questions that we have for now, but we definitely will be able to kind of like, if you want to meet before the breakfast, that's something that we can do as well. But you all know all of the answers to these questions. So, but it's just free breakfast and also just spending more time here. So that's where we are in the accreditation process. Are there any questions?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Lovely. All right. On to finance and operations. Can I have the next? Thank you so much. Okay. So in terms of contracts and procurement right now, we have 3 RFPs out that we've received feedback for, so that we would like your approval on. So right now, we were looking for a new substitute coverage vendor. We were currently last year we worked with Align. They were a little, pricey, but also the quality of the support they were sending wasn't the best. We did have a lot of 4 submissions, which is a lot because, I usually don't receive a lot of submissions for RFPs, but so School education, the highlights for school education are that they are very, 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 like they came in and they met with us. They, they toured the school. They asked a lot of questions. The RFPs that we did receive, we got a lot of questions, right? Similar, but this vendor stood out to us because one of their questions was, can they tour the school? And I was like, oh, wow, that's actually great. Another thing is that they have a lot, their resumes that they send, all of their educators either have teaching licenses or have the education and background and experience to go along with it, which is something that was like a little different from the other vendors that submitted. And that it was just I just like it was warm. They felt like they cared about the school. And we did try them out we've been trying them out actually. And we actually ended up hiring one of the teachers that they had for our vacant in-house substitute position. So that speaks to like the quality of educators that they have been sending. A lot of the assistant principals when they do come, when they're walking by a classroom, they're like they don't even know that the actual teacher is not there, right? Because they're acting as though normal everything is the same. So we really appreciated that. For Scoot Education is the name if you want to look them up. Another RFP that we had out is for psychological services or assessment. So for student support, we have a lot of students coming in, new students, but also some of our like our current students. We had the RTI process, so we had to have them evaluated a lot more than like in prior years. So we had to submit the RFP to make sure that we have a consistent vendor to come in and provide those services. So that has been Quinn Psychological Services, very similar to the submissions that we received. They were all lovely. They asked all the right questions. We've been working with Quinn just kind of in the past for one-offs. So the experience that we've had with him is great. And his submission was very, very, very like it was complex. It provided all of the information and we didn't have to ask any questions. So Quinn was the one that we were hoping to go with. Another RFP that we have out is for office supplies. I know it sounds crazy, but when we've been ordering office supplies, obviously we order from the Amazons and the normal places that we usually order from, but we were ordering a lot of like things from Staples in the past, and it just got very, very expensive. We had another vendor, it walked in and they just said, hey, we are a minority owned business and we will price match your services, whatever it is you're ordering and or provide you with a cheaper price. They are also very, very, very quick, right? If I go in right now and I say, oh my goodness, all classrooms are out of tissues, place an order for tissues, they'll be here either tonight or the next day. And I really appreciate that because that is, we do run out of things fairly quickly. People forget to tell me or, Miss McCaskill. So it really helps to have somebody that's actually like very, very like efficient and expeditious. And then so that's for the RFPs that we currently have open. Looking ahead, we do have to move forward with we're on our ending our cycle with Genuine Foods, so we have to go out for bid for them or for any food service vendor. So that service, that RFP process, I will be working with actually Aussie on that. That will start in December. So we'll start that whole process where they'll come in for food tastings and do all of the things that are going to make us want to love them. So if anybody wants to also be part of that, that would be great as well. I can send an email out on that. Before we
Sorry,
move,
let's go back.
sorry.
Portia,
Yeah,
let's go back because we actually
yeah,
are going to need the board. So
yeah.
Portia, can you I'm not sure where this went on the slides, but can you just talk about the expected costs and the terms of each contract? Because the board is going to have to approve each contract because each of these contracts is over 25K.
Yeah. So of course, so for Scoot Education, obviously, it would be a 1-year term because we want to try them out, but we're not expecting them to cap 50. I would say we're not expecting them to cap $75,000, right? Because we have our in-house substitutes. So we're calling when coverage gets crazy, 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 but they're like the backup. So the new process that we have in place is to use our 2 in-house substitutes first and then offer out any if there are any teachers who can do cover on their off period. And then if not, we provide Scoot Education is the very last resort. So not expecting over to cap $75,000 for that for the school year for this year. The same thing with Quinn. It's as needed, right? So whenever a student comes up either for renewal or we identify a new student, we're going to have to call for that if that's part of the process, if that's necessary for the psychological evaluation. We're not expecting that to cap $100,000 at all, hopefully, crossing our fingers. But that also will be on a year term because we want to make sure that we're not overcommitting. And then it's similar to Benjamin office supply. We're not going to cap the budget that we have, so that wouldn't cap $75,000 either for the school year. So we would try Benjamin office supply versus the Staples or the other companies we were ordering from.
So Portia, just for the board, all of these contracts are over 25K, so they require board approval. All of these costs are aligned to the school's budget that has been approved, and so none of these are new expenses, but rather expenses that are already in the budget. It is the approving of the who is providing these services. And so we would be looking for a board vote to approve these 3 vendor contracts for 1-year terms with the caps that Portia noted, which is 75K for Scoot, 100K for Quinn, and 75K for Benjamin office supply.
Can you say the Quinn number again?
It's 100,000.
Okay, thank you. And Portia, do you need a vote today, or is this something that we could allow the larger board at the next meeting to weigh in on? I'm fine either way, depending on what we need, but I'm just trying to be considerate.
Yeah, it would be nice to have it today, right? Because we want to move forward with continuing to use the companies.
Yeah, so Sydney, we would actually need a vote today because right now the school is using all these vendors and they have not reached that 25 cap, but will be reaching that 25 cap very shortly, which is why Portia had to do the RFPs for each of these.
Okay. I'll do them individually in case there are votes separate, in case the votes differ by amount and by vendor. So just quick point of clarification, Portia, you're needing a vote on the vendor, not the dollar amount, correct? As I think about how to phrase this motion.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. First, I'll open the floor to motions to approve Scoot Education as our substitute coverage provider. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You want to
Aye.
chat vote again, Alexandra? Okay, Alexandra needs us in the chat again. Scoot, yes. Can we go back, Portia or Rachel? I'm not
Sorry.
sure.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So for Scoot so far, I have Sydney, Sean, Andrew,
And one more.
Brandon.
Shannon, you drop your vote in the chat. And then I think that's everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm
Okay,
just trying to keep track here.
I know. The next, accepting motions on the floor to retain Quinn Psychological Services as our services and assessment vendor.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
A second.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Aisha or Shannon.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All in favor or opposed, votes in the chat, please. I think we're done. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, you have them all. And last,
Sorry, Sydney, I think I don't have a vote from Sean on Quinn because I think I've got
hers
5
is
on
above
Quinn.
mine, actually. I
got
saw
it.
it come in first.
Got it.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's your 6. And last, a motion to transition office supply vendors to Benjamin Office Supply as presented.
Moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
I heard cheaper.
Right, and minority owned and local. We heard all the things. A vote in the chat. And then I think we're good to move on.
Yes, thank you. I will now move it all to the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, speaking of procurement, in our, I think, July meeting, the board approved an OST and an IT vendor for us. So I just wanted to give you an update on how that's been going. Innovation Learning has been wonderful so far. They have, I believe, I said 40 plus because I believe the last time that I checked, it was 50 students enrolled. The families seem to be overall satisfied with the programming. Every time that I do a walkthrough, I don't see cell phones. I see learning. They've been making plants. A lot of the older kids are disenchanted with it because they're not allowed to use their phones, or they think that, making plants and listening to Zen music is not their thing, but they actually start to warm up to it. Of the 50-ish families that are enrolled right now, I believe at least I would say 80% of them are using, I would say 90% of them are on a voucher, which is really, really, really excellent. So we just have to continue to I'm working with them to continue to kind of push the program. A lot of families seem to be put off by the fact that you have to actually apply for the voucher and go down to wherever the office is and get this finalize it. But once they do it, it's just excellent experience, 6:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. and then 3:30 to 6:30. Families are really happy with that because it's very convenient for them. So when I leave here at night, I see families picking up their kids, and they look excited. The kids are happy, so that makes me happy. Right now, we're also working with Innovation Learning to become a stage 2 voucher certified program, which means that the families will no longer have to do all of the process, go online, apply for the voucher, and then go to wherever the office is to obtain it. They'll be able to do everything here on site with us. So right now, the only thing that we actually are waiting for is you have to be a voucher, a program that accepts vouchers for at least a minimum of 1 year to be able to move to stage 2. So we've already completed all of the trainings. We already know what we have to do. It's just now a waiting game. So once that happens, we'll be able to also provide you an update. So I also want to put Aisha on the spotlight to see if she can share a little bit of her experience, because Asher is enrolled in the program.
Innovation.
Yes.
Yeah, they're really good. They have a STEM focused. Well, let me say this, just transitioning from some of the other after school vendors that we've had, it's night and day. They are professional. They have set up their work area professionally. They have a center type.
Well, you're breaking up, I think.
Mhm.
I don't
Can
know.
everybody hear her?
No, she's breaking up.
It's just they do a lot of this cars like that. I mean, this place. Hello?
Yeah.
A little better?
Yes. Yes.
No? Okay. Much more professional than our past vendor. You can tell that the teachers are actually certified for their age groups, not just kind of, some, I will say in the last vendor, it looked like they just were kind of hiring people and maybe training. These are folks who are actually educators. They are STEM focused and they have a fitness component. So every day it's, from the time they get there to the time they leave. They also have supper during the time and a snack, which is great for our after schoolers. Yeah, I've been very happy. They have a very nice program where you have to sign them in, you sign them out. They have all of their paperwork in order. Yeah, and I did go through the voucher process myself, and it works. And for them to be able, I know they're going to be able to do it on site soon. So that's definitely going to make sure that we have more of a draw. My son is one of the ones that was a little upset because he cannot have his phone. So he's used to kind of grabbing it after class and being able to get on. So until he sees me, the phone is locked up. So it works out. And they're there till 6 versus 5:30 with clubs.
Well, 6:30 if you want it. It's pretty late, but but yes, and we also are running clubs as well on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which is exciting as well. So and then for DNS, they aside from the little hiccup we had this morning with the internet, they've been really great. We're currently working on cleaning up our network right now, which is a project. It is really intense. It doesn't involve like shutting down our network for like a couple of days and a lot of wiring and a lot of different things. So they are working, they're being very thoughtful and strategic in how they're approaching that project so that it does a minimal impact to Perry Street staff and students and our building. So right now we have a dedicated tech on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which has been working out great. We've been looking at like our IT tickets, and they have not been anything that like either like operations can't fix. It hasn't been anything crazy where it's like, oh my goodness, we're missing this IT person here every single day. We've been working really closely. So like I do appreciate that they're showing us how to do the things so that if anything happens and they're not here, we're able to kind of do it on our own, like something simple. Like my computer is not attached to the printer. They provided us with something called a mobile device manager that allows us to actually take care of it ourselves. And it's self-service is what it's called. And it's super easy. So I think, we have had a good experience overall. If we have questions or if there's something that, is problematic, they're all very, very responsive. Even the like person who's like in charge of everything. If I call him right now, he'll answer and say, okay, we'll get that taken care of ASAP. So we are overall very pleased with them, and they are working out great for our needs at least. Any questions before we move on?
Portia, I am just looking at the time, and I want to make sure we get to the votes that we need for governance. So if
Yep.
we could go to the finance,
Yeah.
and I would say the finance committee could not meet yesterday as scheduled, so we're going to redo that meeting. But right now, the school is continuing to finish its audit. We received a draft, I think, yesterday of the FY25 audit. That draft right now does not have any findings and is a clean audit, and we're going to be sharing that with the finance committee for review. We right now have September financials, and we continue to meet the metrics required by PCSB as of the September financials. We should be getting the October financials by week's end. But because of the shifts that were made in early to mid-September, the school should continue to meet all financial metrics. And because the school's enrollment is anticipated to be above the 10% threshold, we did not need to submit a new budget to PCSB. And so it'll be critical to continue monitoring the school's finances between now and the end of the year. But so far, things continue to be on track. Any questions? I'm going to kind of speed through here, so please stop me. Can go to the next slide, please, Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
We can skip the slide. It's the exact same information. Why don't we come back to the enrollment piece, Portia? Let's go to the other big thing we've been working on is really the bond and building lease. And so this is important to note, and we've talked about this with the finance committee, but the schools had rent abatement through May of 2025 with the DC Department of General Services, who is the owner. The District of Columbia owns the building Perry Street is at. That rent abatement program ended in May of 2025. The school's rent that it would be paying without rent abatement is $95,000 a month for the building, or a little over $1.1 million a year. So the school has not been paying that rent through May of 2025 because of the costs that Perry Street incurred in the upkeep and renovation of the building. The school applied for additional rent credits back in 2021 and secured an additional $4 million of rent abatement. So those credits applied for 53 additional months through February of 2028. So right now, Perry Street is approved to not pay any rent on the building through February 2028. Since that rent abatement approval, the school has incurred additional expenses for the upkeep of the building and renovations. And so in October, we applied for additional rent abatement to cover those additional costs since 2021. That right now is pending approval by the Department of General Services, although we feel, I would say, positive in our communication that that will be approved. The bond that was initially taken in 2010 is for $12.6 million. That bond is due on May 13 of 2026. That bond is what financed the entire construction and renovation of that facility back in 2010. So Perry Street has been, in lieu of paying rent to the district, has been making monthly bond payments to Wilmington Trust. That balance right now, as you see, actually is 13.9 million. So the balance is actually greater than the bond. And that is because under the terms of that bond, those funds are invested per a set investment schedule. And so we feel very confident that the school will meet its bond obligation on May 13th. We'll be able to pay back that 12.6, and that sinking fund will be closed and all repayments will be due. We will continue to work on the rent abatements and work with Finance Committee as we get closer. But the big news here and the big takeaway is that the school has done everything it ought to do in terms of ensuring that it will secure and be able to make those bond payments on May 13th. And for right now, will not be paying rent through at least February 2028, but that should continue once additional rent abatement is approved. Any questions on that? Because that is a lot. But all good news and positive news, I would say. Okay, Sydney, we'll turn it over to you for governance.
Sure. We are still in the process of recruiting. I have been made aware of another potential candidate, but is not a DC resident, so we do still have to be mindful of that. The candidate we discussed at the last meeting, of Dr. Alicia Jordan, is still very interested, but had some travel that took her away. So we're still trying to get her into the building. I'm actually aiming for next week. She's getting back to me with her schedule now that the government shutdown has ended. Some of her travel has been rearranged. So she's trying to hold on to those those days in the DC area. So I will keep the group apprised of that. Term expirations, there are two in particular that I'd like to bring to light today. One is Tashandra Stroman, our parent board member, but also Bruce Newby. Both in light of our recruiting situation, have agreed to serve until January 1 while we get the new parent board member and at least one of the new candidates onboarded there and in place. So many thanks to them for generously giving of their additional time. And then we don't have thinking back to the last meeting, we had discussed voting in a governance chair for this governance committee. I jokingly told Brandon he agreed to it. There's no takebacks. We will be voting on it.
So Sydney, we don't actually have to vote on a governance chair, but we do need.
I know. So I would like to just have the record reflect that we're officially changing the guard on the governance chair seat.
Yeah. So Sydney, we don't actually need to vote on the governance chair. We do need to vote on the chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer of the board.
Yes. With Hassan not here, another one who's recovering from government shutdown hangover, with Hassan not here, I wanted to ask around policies and procedures for postponing this vote or hosting it via special meeting at an interim time.
The board can postpone to the next board meeting.
Okay. Do
so
we need a vote to postpone the vote? No,
we don't need a vote to postpone the vote because the board gets to decide when you have the annual elections.
Yep.
There's not a set time.
Mhm.
But we do need a vote to extend to Chandra and Bruce's terms through
Okay.
January 1, 2026, I think is what I heard you say.
That is. Okay, goes into effect 26/27. All trustees required to complete the training. Yep. And optional training throughout the year. Okay, those are, yes. So two votes today. Actually, can I do one vote both people, or do you want one for each? Okay,
Nope, you
one
can do
vote
both.
today, because we've been voting a lot and I am mindful of the time. Can I please have a motion to extend the terms, the trustee terms for Bruce Newby and Tashandra Stroman to January 1, 2026?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Oh, I'll put mine in the chat.
Please.
Thank you, everyone. We've done a good job of questions throughout the presentation, but are there any additional questions for our leadership team or for the board? My only question will be, please keep us posted on the toy drive that I know PSP does each year. I'd love to set a challenge for 100% board participation with donations to the toy drive. I'm excited.
Yes, okay, absolutely. So when you, I hope, just want to confirm everybody on the board receives the newsletter from Perry Street. If
Yes,
not,
thank you for
Okay.
getting that done at the last meeting.
Yeah, so that will be in the toy drive information will be also in the newsletter as well, but I'll send a board highlight email just because we talked about a couple things that I wanted to highlight for you guys.
Thank you. All right, folks, I will not keep you. I know we're over on time. So thank you, everyone, for making the time today. If you have questions, reach out. Let me know. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.